Right then, youngsters and those who are young at heart, I'm just going to show you something. Can you tell me what this is? What's this? Yeah, it's a tape measure, and you use it for measuring things. Now, I suspect that when you go to school, you've got a ruler, a fixed ruler, and I've got one somewhere, but I can't find it. It'll be somewhere hiding around here. Anyway, tape measures. Now, obviously, very simple question. What do you do with tape measures? You measure things. That's right, you measure stuff. So, what do we use this for at home? Well, measuring lengths of rooms, measuring things in our home, etc. And this is a 3 meter one. You can see it there, a 3 meter tape measure. You can get 5 meter ones, 8 meter ones, 10 meter, 20. You can get all sorts of tape measures. And of course, the tape measure measures how big things are. And this one you can measure in, if you can see that, you can measure in, it's upside down because of the way it works. You can measure in feet and you can measure it in centimeters. Okay, so if you were working feet and inches, you can use this one. If you work in centimeters, millimeters, meters, you can use it as well. But we use it to measure things. Now, in our world, we can measure pretty much everything. We can measure our height. We can measure the tiniest size in our eyes. If you go for an eye test, I don't know if you've ever had the photos taken of your eyes. They can tell you how big parts of your eye are. These tiny things, and you can measure big things as well. We can measure how far it is from Earth to the moon. Even we don't use a tape measure because we don't use that. The scientists have all sorts of wonderful ways of measuring those things, which I can't even get my head around because I'm not into science. I don't understand. But we can measure things. But there are some things that we cannot measure. No matter how big your tape measure is, no matter what kind of scientific ways you want to measure it, you can't measure it. I want to read you one verse from the Bible, from Isaiah chapter 40. Only one little part of Isaiah 40 and verse 12. And this is what he says. It's a question. And he's talking about God. Who has measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, or with the breadth of his hand marked off the heavens? Who has measured the waters in the hollow of his hand? And what Isaiah is getting at is this, is none of us have any idea how big God is. That's what he's getting across. He says, even if you could get God's hand, you couldn't measure all the waters that would fit in it. It's too big, too enormous, too amazing to measure. We sing a song like that, don't we? Who has held the oceans in his hand? We can't measure the size of God's hand. He is so great, so big, you can't measure it. Even with your tape measure, you cannot measure how big God is. Why talk about that? Well, in our world, people want to just sort of be in control of everything. We want to control our lives. We want to be in charge of everything. We want to be able to know everything. We want to know how far we have to go on a journey. We want to know how high we bounce on a trampoline. We want to know how big things are. We want to know about everything. But we can't know about everything because God is greater than us. And that might sound a bit scary. You know, there's things we don't know. But here's the thing. Because God is a good God, because he's wonderful and merciful to us, we don't need to worry about the fact that he's greater than us. In fact, it's a great thing that he's greater than us. It's a great thing that we can't measure his greatness, because it means that when we trust him, we are safe, we're secure, we're trusting ourselves to someone who's greater than us, bigger than us, more wonderful than us. Now today, and this week, I want you to think about that. And if you're not a Christian, if you're not trusting Jesus, I want you to think about why not? Because in the end, he's greater than everything else. Greater than your friends at school. Greater than your classmates. Greater than everything. We can't measure him. He's that great. And we can trust him because he's a good God.